Mhm.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another not so exciting edition of our weekly webinar series on COVID-19. Okay, they feel exciting. I'm Jason, Business Development Manager, and this is
Ben, President of the Woods Mix.
all right. We're going to start, just like last week, do a quick recap of stuff that's happened already, and then we'll move into the questions for this week. We did put some of the statistics back here on the board, which we're going to have to move out of the way if you want to see those. So we'll be sure to do that. Quick recap on covered versus non-covered. This is really the most essential part of the CARES Act. So Ben, if you could just reiterate what.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of info that's kind of come out actually since last week, of covered versus non-covered and kind of the outlook of what we're going to be expecting here moving forward. First, remember a covered property is a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or a HUD Section 8 backed property, home. So if you have a mortgage, a conventional mortgage, in most cases, you're going to be backed by one of those, and that is under the CARES Act. So it's going to be what we call as a covered property. A covered property, according to the CARES Act by Trump, President Trump, it will goes until July 27th. And then on that day, on July 27th, you're allowed to issue a notice to the tenant for non-payment or rent. Typically, we issue 3-day notices here in Florida, but on July 27th, we have to issue a 30-day notice to the tenant. So that will actually take it all the way until the end of August if you're under a covered property and the tenant's not paying rent. A non-covered property is owned in cash or a non-conventional loan, maybe a commercial loan or something like that, as long as it's not backed by Freddie Mae, Fannie Mac. That it would be a non-covered loan. These loans in the state of Florida cannot start an eviction until May 17th. The inside rumors about this is it's probably going to be extended. Governor Santos is supposed to come out with maybe an update to this. We haven't had any updates since the 45-day memorandum, which came out on April 2nd, which takes us to May 17th. So today, maybe tomorrow, we could get an update. But if we don't, it's really important if you own the property in cash or non-conventional, non-covered property to let us know right away so we can start putting pressure on these tenants and also start giving late fees and all kinds of things. We can treat them like normal. The other part of that is as long as we file and get things started, it's not going to affect us. But right now, a writ of possession. So once the eviction is approved and finalized, you get a writ of possession. Writ of possessions cannot be filed with the sheriff until at least May 29th. Every county is going to be slightly different, but the Florida right now is writ of possessions cannot be before May 29th. I had one more. What was the other part of that? So yeah, if reach out to us if you have a non-covered property, we'll get that started. Again, we're going to talk about some of the numbers we have here. We have 14 properties from April that haven't paid that fall into this. So it's out of over 1,000 homes. So it is a 1%, but if you're one of those 14 people, that is a big deal. In May, it's slightly higher, but lost train of thought.
Okay.
4.4. So reach out to us. Let us know if it's a covered home, but if it is one of these, if you do have one of these houses, what I was going to say is, we're coming up with a program now. We'll go back to the foreclosure. A card from the foreclosures of 2008 and 2009. It's going to be cash for keys. If we have one of those, if you're one of those 15 properties from April or after 2 months of non-payment and the tenant pretty much is either non-responsive or tells us they're not going to pay, we should talk and determine if we should possibly offer a cash for keys. Because if we can't even start an eviction until August 26th, and that's just a posting and things, and then the backups of the court, we're going to talk December. So, you know, it's kind of like negotiating with the terrorists in some cases, but, you know, it might be the absolute best decision if this comes to you. So what we're going to probably propose is a 1 month of free rent and get your security deposit back, take the home back. And again, we would like to release. Our leasing numbers are up. We are actually pushing now. Last week, we weren't quite pushing the record as far as what homes are going to rent for, but now we are. And they're renting very, very fast. So we're up 50% on our applications right now compared to May of 2019 with the same amount of properties. So,
And maybe the key part on that is just because the courts are going to reopen and start doing evictions at the end of August doesn't mean there won't be a backlog. You know, who knows how many cases, eviction filings are going to be around the counties. So, you know, December could, you know, hopefully worst case scenario, but it could take quite a while. Recap for some of the numbers here. In March, we leased out 36 properties. In April, it was 31. And to date, in May, we're at 25. So it's a considerable increase for the 14th of May. Rent collection for the month of April.
And our average is actually 18 days on market right now for all properties across everywhere. So
good stuff. April's rent collection came out to 98.5%.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep. Those the 15 homes.
So with Florida's plans for reopening the economy, we talked about this last week. I'll touch on this and then we'll get into phase 2. But we did start opening restaurants, retail, shops, and museums up to 25% capacity, 50% capacity if it's a restaurant patio. Beaches are fully reopened. Bars, movie theaters, gyms, fitness centers, sporting events with fans are all at a future date. Governor DeSantis did announce yesterday, and this is really all about applicable, but any sports teams for collegiate and pro that would like to continue playing or start playing again can come to Florida and we'll find a stadium for them. That phase 1 began on May 4th. In regards to phase 2, there's no direct timeline as to when they're going to start it, but it will occur when certain benchmarks have been met. Phase 2 is quite a bit more going on, and it could directly impact your tenants. That's why we wanted to make mention of this. Social gatherings will increase from 10 to 50 people. Non-essential travel will resume, but people are asked to limit it. Telework will be encouraged, but employees are able to go back to work, back to the office. Bars, pubs, nightclubs will be able to operate at 50% capacity. Restaurant capacity will be bumped up from 25% to 75%. Gyms and fitness centers can open at 75% capacity. State parks will be fully open for daytime use, but overnight accommodations will still be banned. With the beaches, there's no further social distancing guidelines. Movie theaters, concerts, auditoriums, bowling alleys, casinos, etc. can all open up at 75% capacity. Vacation rentals will be allowed to reopen, but only to Florida residents. So that kind of defeats the purpose for a lot of them, but it's something.
And with that, it's kind of crazy. You can open a hotel without a vacation rental, but that's another topic, I think.
Hair salons and nail salons can increase from 25% to 75% capacity, and same with retail businesses, 25 to 75%.
So a quick recap to answer the question that was given here. So of the 15 that we talked about that have just not negotiated and they're behind at least a month and a half of rent at this point, those are the ones we're talking about cash for keys. Now we still have a lot of payment plans in place for the month of May. We actually have 47 or so, 48 plans in place as of a few minutes ago. These are the tenants who have made some contribution this month and that are, constantly working with us. Now, if any times these break down, the communications break down, then that is going to be a different story. But right now, we're doing everything in our power to collect and work payment plans. We're getting them to put this in writing. We're calling them, hounding them. We're trying to be the squeaky wheel to making sure they pay us. Because again, we don't have the legal side of things and we don't have the late fees. We don't have a lot of things behind us that we normally have to make sure that they pay us first. But compared to a lot of the other people I've talked to, my colleagues around the country, we are doing a good job. We're ahead of most property managers. But again, it is, this is our number one priority, is collecting rent right now. And we'll continue doing so.
Right, we're in this together because we don't collect our fees if rent's not collected, so we're suffering as well if we're not able to collect rent. Question here: how is how is May's rent collection coming along? We've got 95 that are late, 4.4% have not paid, and there's 48 payment plans in place. But showings are up 40% over last year, so we're doing really well in the showings department.
And most of the payment plans are due next week, either on the 15th or the 19th, right before our second owner payment. These are things where we've negotiated to see if we can still get our owners paid this month. So yeah, that should drop drastically by our next meeting next week for those payment plans.
This question we kind of addressed here, but how many properties have rented so far in May? We've got 25 to date. So we're on track to have a phenomenal month of May. Where are we at with the Florida's unemployment? 222,000 people filled out jobless claims in Florida last week. And the total thus far in Florida is approaching 2 million. Got this down here. And 36 million nationwide. Next question is, has sales been affected? The inventory is still very low, but the houses that are up for sale are going under contract in just a matter of days. So that's a positive sign. Can you update us on the number of coronavirus cases? We've got Orange County, Florida, where Orlando is located, 1,500 cases with 35 deaths. Florida's at 42,000 with 1,827 deaths. And the United States overall is 1.42 million and almost 85,000 deaths.
So I guess in a whole, we're watching Florida slowly reopen. Disney Springs is the shopping center around Disney there. It's very popular. A lot of restaurants and shops and things. That is reopened. Unlimited capacity, but we did watch that reopen this week. Orlando City Walk is another one that has a limited reopen. We're starting to see some dates and some capacity limits and stuff for some of our theme parks. We're seeing a lot of people going out and having out and about here in Florida. So compared to some places on the West Coast, like in California and Washington State and those things that are still under mandatory lockdowns or have a much, much slower approach. Florida is taking a proactive approach and restarting the economy fairly quickly, which is really good for the renters. We'll see as long as we stay below the curve of the coronavirus. But overall, we are seeing a lot of people, even jobs are getting posted again and things like that. So it is a positive thing. So we just got to get past this CARES Act, which we're going to have for another few months. So if there's no other questions at the moment, we're going to have this again every week at 2 o'clock on Thursdays. We're going to add some more items of what we're going to be doing within the Realty Medics, and maybe have more than just our ugly faces here for you. But anyways, we definitely value you as clients. So give us a call or an email if you have any other questions or how to improve these. But other than that, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Bye-bye.